Hey everybody, welcome to Data and Donuts again. My name's Aaron and I'm here with my colleague and friend CJ Bishop. Hello CJ, thanks so much for joining us today. And today we're going to talk about labor and market data and how it can be utilized, not just at college level, but at district level, not just to meet federal requirements, but to help facilitate planning for the different groups such as faculty, programs, and services at different colleges. Once again, before we get into our interview, I'd like CJ to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about his background.
Thanks for having me, Aaron. Again, my name is CJ Bishop. I'm one of the Senior Research Analysts at the Coast Community College District. I've had the privilege of working in higher education for coming on 20 years now, and I've worked in institutional research for roughly 10 of those years. Within that time frame, I've had the opportunity to work with services, faculty and deans in a variety of capacities, working with online, in-person, private, and public. So it's been a fun journey, and I hope to provide a little bit of feedback from what I've learned.
Excellent, excellent. So we'll jump right into this interview. Can you describe the Title V biennial CTE program review process and the requirements?
Of course. The Career and Technical Education, or CTE, biennial program reviews provide an opportunity to evaluate the CTE academic programs at each of our colleges based on student success trends and labor market trends. This whole process and the review is informed by the California Education Ed Code 78016. The code specifically states that every vocational or occupational training program offered by a community college district shall be reviewed every 2 years by the governing board or the district to ensure that the program, as demonstrated by California Occupational Information Systems, including the state labor market information, is reviewing the following components. The first being the programs have to meet a documented labor market demand. They also must not represent any unnecessary duplication of other manpower training program in the area. So what that component's referencing is if there's similar programs and it's heavily provided in the area, you need to show yours would differentiate in that regard. The program reviews also must demonstrate effectiveness as measured by the employment and completion success of its students. Any program that doesn't meet these particular requirements is required to be reviewed by the governing board and shall be terminated with 1 year if it's not meeting the criteria. With this entire review process, a summary of these findings must always be published and made publicly available. For us, each CTE degree and certificate is grouped by academic program based on the taxonomy of program or top codes. An evaluation of each program analyzes labor market demands, earnings within the associate profession. We benchmark awards of certificates and associate degrees in the region. And lastly, we look at enrollment completion success trends of students within these programs. The CTE deans for each college review the outcomes, and we share these and get feedback from the respective deans and professors in those areas. The feedback from the deans and the professors is then reviewed, a narrative is created, and that's part of the analysis that's sent to the district board for review.
Definitely, and I see these reports, components, and data being a critical aspect of helping us tell our story and our impact in our areas and our regions. And as our viewers are listening, they're probably thinking, what's going on with my institution? And so what data sources would you recommend maybe collecting that they could collect at their college or institution to help tell their story, or what market data is available that they may be able to capture?
That's a great question. So while it's important to definitely know the industry and market data, a big part of first informing that research is better understanding the characteristics of the region that you are serving, as well as providing insight to those specific labor markets and industry trends. And luckily, there's a variety of public-facing resources that can be incredibly helpful in conducting this research. So I'm going to name a few and go some examples of what they can provide. So the Bureau of Economic Analysis provides regional economic accounts ranging from the GDP, personal income, real personal income, and consumer spending by region. Another rich resource is the U.S. Census, and they provide regionally informed characteristics down to the census tract. This data is based on information provided from the Census Bureau, American Community Survey, and a variety of public sector surveys. Its regionally informed topics include demographic profiles, employment, education, income and poverty, family and living arrangements, and many others. There's a lot of great ways to look at that information and really get granular into who you're serving, as well as the surrounding areas your students may be part of. Now, a big resource I'd like to point to regarding labor market and industry trends is California's Employment Development Department, or the EDD. This is a geographically informed, and you're able to search by county, metropolitan area, and city. The following things I'm going to list are just a few of the variety of resources the EDD provides and can be very helpful in conducting your research. So there's an area called the employment projections. Now, this research estimates the changes in industry and occupational employment over time, resulting from industry growth, technology change, and other factors. It lets you know your programs and the respective industries they may be part of, what's going on, the projections that may happen. Now, California specifically produces a long-term 10-year projection that's updated every 2 years, and then there's a short-term one that's reviewed every looks at a 2-year range, and that's revised annually. Additionally, there's a component called the industry data from the EDD Labor Market Information Division. This collects, analyzes, and publishes data on groups of businesses based on their principal product or activity. The data collected includes employment, the number and size of the business, occupations employed, and other key data for major industries within the California sector and its various regions. This is incredibly helpful because it also allows you to search by specific employer, looking at industry, occupation, and geographical area, as well as business name. Working with students as well as your faculty, this could be helpful in either advising or creating relationships with potential business partners to either connect with students or maybe help with review and engage in your programs as they need to be developed or reviewed. There's also the California Industry Employment Change Calculator. This compares month-to-month or year-to-year changes in the industry sector for California and its areas. This is incredibly helpful. Again, it comes out every month. It allows you to really see trends as it goes based on each of the respective industry, and it gets relatively granular. Lastly, there's a regional profile provides a description of county employment and wages. It breaks down monthly employment by industry, occupations with the fastest growth, the highest wage occupations, as well as income by home and comparison between regions. It's a pretty rich tool. I'd also like to point out that especially during times with a pandemic with COVID, there's special interest made in unemployment numbers. So the EDD's Labor Market Information Division also releases monthly unemployment rates and employment by industry for California and sub-state. These are important figures to consider as industries look to adapt and reopen. And then lastly, there's also consideration for some non-publicly facing information for labor market that you may have access to or can inquire about. One that we use is called EMSI, or EMSI. We use this as well as the California Community College's Tech Center. So the State Chancellor's Office also likes to utilize this tool. They specifically use it to look at labor market demand to help advisors and students explore potential job markets based on a given degree and program. But within our district, we use EMSI based on hybrids of data sets they use derived from different government sources that I mentioned, like the Census Bureau, Bureau of Economic Analysis, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And they also have their own data modeling. So what this provides is a little bit more of an expanded view of the labor market resources I just mentioned.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing those, CJ. We're gonna have to definitely put those in the comments below, but definitely. And so as we see this mass amount of data, what are a few key data points that you like to put into your reports to really connect those to the colleges? And so if you want to share a few of those points and then really describe maybe how you identify that. I know you use top code, SOC code, and things of that magnitude, but what are those key data points? What do we really try to focus on?
Great question. Being part of the community college system, it's crucial that we understand and reflect upon the academic programs that we offer to our students and what is the relevance to the job market, especially within program areas like the career and technical education. It's a lot of information that is, rattled off. So I think it's a great way of looking at specific areas that we look at and understanding how we can maybe focus in with all the information that's provided. So critical connecting to economic data for each of the colleges is working with them. And basically what that means is looking at each college program and assuring alignment of the programs and their courses with the respective departments to occupations and industry. So you want to basically make sure that the way in which academics has built their different programs clearly aligns with how we use the industry data and analyze that. So during our CTE biennial program review process, I coordinate efforts with deans and faculty to ensure all the appropriate mapping by industry and occupation is made. So how we do that is we ensure industry are associated with occupations for each department, and the deans have a little dialogue. We send a list and there's a back and forth. Whatever works best for your college, do that, but make sure they're engaged and academics leads the process. So we do this by verifying, as you mentioned, the taxonomy of program or top codes with certificates and associate degrees provided. Once the top codes are verified, I then map the standard occupational classification or SOC code associated with each of the top codes. A crosswalk is made between the top codes and the SOC codes, utilizing information like the Center for Academic Success's crosswalk between top SOC and SIP code, as well as reviewing SOC codes that may have changed. Great resources to look like this are not only MZ, but also ONET. They're great at updating and also providing a broader perspective of maybe how some of the programs that you offer may have changed to include or exclude certain occupational programs. Once the SOC codes are identified, review these findings with the deans, working with academics to essentially ensure the occupations and education levels align accurately. So again, that's a huge part before you're really exploring into that. So once that's all done, you can compare programs based on regionally informed employment data. I'm going to highlight 4 key areas that are important to look at. One's occupational data. This can include things like wage estimates that are based on occupation employment statistics and the American Community Survey. Why it's important to include both is occupation employment statistics usually work at standardized class of worker, a lot of the OPID numbers I've mentioned. But the American Community Survey, they consider things like self-employed and extended proprietors. So if you have industries like construction or a variety of type that may not necessarily go through traditional tracking methods, this is a good resource to look at. Additionally, it's important to look at staffing data. This includes employee data for workers, which includes such sources as the Occupational Employment Statistics, as well as National Industry Occupation Employment Matrix and the American Community Survey. For self-employed and extended proprietors class of workers, you want to include the American Community Survey like I previously mentioned. And what this does is it allows you to track different staffing trends by occupation based off of your program. Cost of living is also huge. Depending on if you're looking at census tract, county, or city, it's important to consider the level of cost it's going to take for people to live there, as well as the jobs that are offered. So what we look at is a cost of living index, and that's published by the Council for Community and Economic Resource. So that's another good one. And lastly, job postings. So these are critical, and you can look at them for such, there's a lot of public sources like you can coordinate with using Indeed or Career Builder or Glassdoor. These can be processed and enriched by adding in the different company names and occupations, skills, and geography. So using the job postings based on occupation allows you to really see trends that are coming down and help better advise with students and potentially faculty, good partners to engage with for employment opportunities. Lastly, as a side note, I'd recommend that you start using information from the Chancellor's Office Data Mart or census information to compare the income of how these graduates in a field of study could potentially be competing with others based off of the particular program of study or occupation. What this allows you to do as advisors or working with faculty is seeing how there may be potential opportunities of growth, or if there's areas of impacted, how you can creatively pivot to make your students a little bit more competitive within those fields.
That's awesome. I really, the things that we capture is not just their sheer mass amounts of data, but it's not just done in silo. It's done in a collaborative, cross-functional experience where the faculty, the deans, yourself, researchers can really come together to help fortify and really envision what these programs can do. So the work you're doing is really good. I can't wait to see all these links and share them out. And so thank you so much for sharing your insight on that. So now we're leading to our bonus questions. Right. So the first question is, what's your favorite donut? Without data and donuts and not knowing this, the show wouldn't exist. So what's your favorite donut?
That's a great question. I am a big fan of the cinnamon roll donut. One, because it is the largest of the donuts. So I think it just allows me to really stay focused and keep my sugar level high as I'm going through some data. So
that's fantastic. That's a great answer. And then the second one, and the second part of our show is, data and donuts. So I run across and interact with a variety of individuals, and I catch myself saying the word data 4 or 5 different ways. So just so I can have consistency in how I present it, how do you say, is it data, data, whatever? So
okay, I like that. I usually go with data.
Okay.
But I could definitely, yeah, you work in the industry long enough and 100% you hear it every which way. So that's a great observation.
No worries. Yeah, just trying to build my knowledge. And also I frame it, if someone comes to me and says, hey, can I see that data? I'm like, yeah, let me show you that data, as opposed to trying to correct them. So, but just for helping me to grow professionally. There you go. But today was very insightful. The tools sound amazing. And I think, like I said, I'm very lucky and happy that we work together. And so I'll be pinging you more for this type of data. And like I said, hopefully we'll get some of those links out and share those. And so for everybody watching, thanks so much for staying with us, listening to all the cool things that CJ has been able to share out. And if you want to see more of this, please subscribe to this channel. And thank you so much, CJ, for hanging out today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thank you.